Without sufficient numbers in both houses of parliament, the National Super Alliance yesterday called for the formation of a People's Assembly that will bring together all its elected leaders as well as representatives from all the 47 counties. They are also looking to involve churches and the civil society. But the ruling party has questioned the legality and effectiveness of this move.
I think the only assembly recognized in the Constitution, People's Assembly, those are found in Article 93, 94, 95, and 96 that creates the functions of the National Assembly and the Senate. And of course, under the devolved system of government, we have the county assemblies. Those are the only assemblies and who draw their mandate from the people. The people delegate their powers to those assemblies. So the People's Assembly, as put by Honorable Raila Odinga, I think is not anchored in the Constitution, so it's just hot air.
NASA, though, maintains that it is acting within the law, relying on the constitutional provision that gives the Kenyan people sovereignty.
Governments are not above constitutions, and constitutions are not above the people. The people retain ownership of the sovereign power. This is the reason why all the progressive constitutions, the people reserve the right to exercise their sovereignty directly. That is contained in Article 1 of our Constitution.
Therefore, as far as NASA is concerned, we don't have a president in this country. We don't have a national executive, so to speak. Even that national executive that Uhuru will purport to form, in our view, is illegal and illegitimate. Therefore, Kenyans must have a way of exercising their sovereign right now directly in terms of managing the national government issues. That is why we are creating the People's Assembly, to start serious discussion on how we can have the national executive constituted properly. And that the discussion will be so broad-based.
Critics have pointed out the fact that the move could only further divide the country along political and ethnic lines, just as they have been during the electioneering period. It could also be a challenge convincing legitimate bipartisan parties to be part of the process.
I don't see us dividing Kenyans. In fact, to the contrary, we are going to unite Kenyans, because Kenyans will have a platform to talk freely without fearing the tyranny of numbers or whatever you want to call it. Because the parliament has been reduced to some theater of sorts, where people talk of just tyranny of numbers and pushing forward agenda that is purely individual agenda, not national interest agenda.
The aim of all this, NASA says, is to have another election within 90 days or as soon as possible.
We don't want to pile too much pressure on the people of Kenya on this. But again, we must be alive to the fact that we cannot remain for a very long time without a legitimate executive in place, national executive.
The ruling party, however, doesn't appear keen on another electoral process, especially one which it claims will not be backed by a legal or a constitutional process.
Even if today we sit with our colleagues from NASA and decide to prepare an election in 90 days, that preparation, that must be anchored in law. And nobody is saying it. Which provision of the Constitution do we follow to conduct an election? So the next election, in my opinion, and based on law, the next election, presidential elections to be more specific, will happen on the 9th of August 2022.
At the moment, NASA leaders say there are no plans to go to the Supreme Court to challenge the October 26th election. While they claim they are sure they would get the election annulled, they say it could be all in vain.
Even if you get that prayer and have the elections annulled, what is going to be different? You still have the same commission.
Aside from the People's Assembly, NASA said it would form a task force to look into the systematic governance weaknesses in the country. The task force would even make constitutional amendments to address issues like failure of the electoral bodies and the electoral system, performance of national security organs, the political architecture and the structure of the executive and parliament, protection and safeguarding of devolution, exclusion and discrimination in the allocation and distribution of public resources, and the continued inability of the state and the society to deal with the poverty, unemployment, extreme inequality, economic marginalization and historical grievances. NASA leaders insist that this new cause is not similar to the Ochieng initiative to amend the constitution, which was aborted after IEBC said that the position had not gathered enough signatures to move the amendments to the next stage. Andrew Ochieng, NTV.